CVs are difficult. I spent months trying to perfect my CV with lots of help from lots of different people. So I thought I'd share with you the CV that helped me get an offer from BCG and analyse what I think I did well and what I did not so well, so you can use the tips in this video on your own CV. And make sure to stick around to the end where I'll explain how you can download my free customizable CV template. But enough talking, let's get right into it. So my CV is split into 4 parts. So I'm going to split this video into 5 segments, where I'll first talk to you about my CV as a whole, and then I'll look at each part individually. So looking at my CV as a whole, what did I do well? So I think keeping it to 1 page was really good for me. Now most places will specify how long they want your CV to be, but a good rule of thumb is to keep it to 1 page if you're a graduate and are looking for an entry-level job, but if you're someone that's had a couple of years of work, you might want to move this to 2 pages. Secondly, I think the margins and line spacing of my CV are pretty good. They're quite small, which means I can fit as much detail in there as I can. That white space around your text is not showing how good of a consultant you could be, so make sure to remove as much of that as possible, but obviously you've got to balance this and make sure it's still easily readable. And thirdly, there's no image of myself there. I see so many people wanting to put this in, but all it does is take away a lot of space, and like I said, space is very valuable, especially on a 1-page CV. Now, let's go on to the bad bits. So firstly, most of my dates are not in line with the titles. Now this obviously isn't a massive issue, but it just looks sloppy and shows a lack of care, and I have heard of some people getting a ruler out to make sure they're in line. Secondly, at the top of my CV, I included my phone number, my email and my address. Now I just don't think this is needed. It doesn't add anything and it just takes away from another line that could have been used in the bulk of the CV. And thirdly, in the top right, I included when the CV was last updated. My thought going into this was that it would be good for them to know that I was keeping it up to date, but really it doesn't add anything and it just takes away from the overall look. So on to the first part of my CV, which is all about education, and personally I think I did this section quite well. It's short and to the point, which is exactly what you want, because this section is not about showing skills, it's simply about listing achievements. Secondly, I quantified good achievements with numbers. Now this is something that's good to do throughout your CV. So for example, rather than just saying I received a first, because I was proud of my marks, I specified what they were exactly. Now the point I want to stress here is to not be too modest. If you are proud of something, say it. And thirdly, this may seem simple, but it's chronologically ordered from most recent to oldest, and this applies throughout your whole CV when you list dates. So on to the second part of my CV, where I talk about work experience. Now this will probably be the biggest and most important part of your CV, so you need to put a lot of time and energy into it. So what do I think I did well? Well, firstly, I showed a range of consulting skills, from communication to problem solving to presenting. Now what you need to do is to find out what consulting firms want you to have, and you need to make sure you show them you have those skills. Secondly, I think I had a good mix. Now having consulting related experiences is a really good thing to have, but firms don't want you to just talk about consulting. They want you to have a range of experiences. So mention that bit of work you did in finance, for example. But also they don't just want you to talk about corporate work experience. For example, I mentioned that I was a waiter, and this might show a different skill set they want, so don't undervalue these sorts of experiences. Now you may have spotted that I had a McKinsey Insight Day, and you could be thinking, why has he put McKinsey on his BCG CV? But there's a very good reason for this. Firms know you don't have some sort of innate loyalty to them and that you will be applying to lots of different places. So this only shows that McKinsey accepted me on an insight program, meaning I could have some potential. So on to the bad. So firstly, I don't think my formatting of this section is very nice, and a lot of the time you'll see the text goes way too far to the right and it just looks quite sloppy. Secondly, I don't think I included enough keywords in this section. It's more common nowadays for CVs to be looked at by a computer, so this is really important. Now I included some like analytical and communication, but I think more would have been much better. So on to the third part of my CV, which is all to do with awards. Now this section is super important to show them you've had a history of success. So what do I think I did well? Well, I think I had an okay mix. I had 1 to do with academia, 2 to do with sport, but to be honest, looking back on it, I would have changed a lot about this section. Firstly, it just looks a bit bland and there's not much impact here. For example, the first award where I got the A-level mathematics prize, this was a big thing, but it doesn't really tell you how big it was. So potentially I would have moved the grade I got in A-level maths down here to just give it a bit more impact. Also, I probably would have changed the name of this section to awards and achievements and moved my national badminton ranking from the final section as another bullet point just to bulk out a little bit more. So on to the last section, which is all about your interests and activities. Now this section is super important in consulting because they want people that are quite interesting and fun, because you need to meet clients all the time and being interesting will definitely help you build a relationship with them. Now what I think I did well in this section is that I focused on badminton, which is definitely my biggest hobby, probably got my biggest achievements in, and I could talk about it for quite a long time. However, in all these activities, more so the last two, I didn't relate it enough to why these things would make me a better consultant. Adding something simple like how coding helped me become more logical, or how bridge helped me to make difficult decisions under pressure, would have helped tremendously. Now you've got some tips on how to make a better CV, it's time to make yours. To download the template, step 1, subscribe to the channel. These sort of videos and free resources take a lot of time to make, and subscribing takes only 5 seconds and it's free, so I'd really appreciate it. Step 2, go to the description box below, click on the Google Doc link, then click File, make a copy, and you'll have your very own CV template to customize as you wish. But for now, I wish you all the very best of luck with your consulting applications.